Thank you for
Hi.
joining me on
Thank you.
Rehab My Soul. You are a highly sensitive person, just like me, right?
I am.
Highly sensitive, unite
Yay.
together at home, alone.
Oh my God. Yes, I am. And I love to be here with you today just because I just love meeting other people who are willing to just openly talk about that. It's I don't know about you, but I find that it's rare to meet highly sensitive people who are just like, oh, heck yes, I'm proud to be highly sensitive and share my story.
Yeah, it definitely is. People don't walk around talking about it. I think some people may be highly sensitive, but just don't know that they are.
True,
Yeah.
true. And yeah, and also some people they just feel that they shouldn't show what they are. They know they are highly sensitive, but they are afraid to be judged because also it's not socially acceptable. Depends on the community and the environment, but in some places it's not socially acceptable to be vulnerable, to be emotional, to feel deeply. And
Yeah, people definitely think something's wrong with you. They definitely treat you that way. I know that the community that I grew up in, it was not acceptable at all. And it's not something I can help or change.
true.
So it's very interesting how it's handled by different communities. I've only been a part of my community. And even in the workplace, it can be uh, I remember the days. So I think I found out I was HSP probably about 10 years ago, and I still didn't really understand. So when did you find out?
Well, I I've always felt there was something quote unquote different about me from even when I was a kid, teenager, and crying a lot, being emotional. Like people telling me you're too sensitive. So I've always labeled myself as being too sensitive. And it was back in, I think it's 2016. So it's very, very recent. I was attending an event here in Montreal, and it was hosted by my mentor. She's Christy Whitman. And it was called the Cotton Candy Experiment. And I was like, so we were all supposed to leave the room feeling so high and flying and walking on clouds. Basically, she was taking people on stage. They were sharing their blocks, their resistance, and everything that was blocking them from basically manifesting the life they wanted. And she did some energy clearing. The more people got on stage and released, the heavier I felt. Like my neck, my shoulders, it was heavy. And like at one point, I was sitting on my chair and I was ready to just get up and run out of the room because I couldn't stand it anymore. So at the end, she asked, in the everybody in the room, how do you feel? I raised my hand and said, honestly, I feel terrible. Like I feel bad. And so a woman came to me and say, it's amazing. You're an empath. Like you're picking up all this energy. I'm like, what? No, I don't think I'm an empath, like honestly. But it was the beginning of that deep introspection to put words on what I was. And that's when, that was my big aha moment. Like, oh my God, there is something going on here. And, uncovering the whole story behind the you're too sensitive and you're picking up energies. So yeah, nice journey. Very interesting since that event.
Wow. Yeah, I probably would have definitely got up and ran out of the
Yeah.
room. Oh man, I've got so many HSP stories of just how I felt things or because I definitely was the crybaby. Or that's what they called me. I was the baby of the family and I cried, so I guess I
Mm.
was the crybaby. But I I could just tell when people like thought things about me or said things, even when they didn't say it around me. I could just feel like, okay, yeah, this person doesn't like me. They're sitting here and they're being nice, but they don't like me.
Yeah.
And whether it was true or not, it felt true, and maybe not have been the right word, but it was a vibe like that.
Mm.
And so let's see. Yeah, I remember meeting someone and we were hanging out. Oh, in crowded places. I
Mm.
can't really hang out in crowded places without energy protection.
Oh yeah.
I really have to like plan my week to do like a crowded location. Because when I get there, I can act out of character because I've picked up so much other energy.
Mm.
And it's happened before. So, but what's interesting is people are not judged quite as much when they drink a lot and they act out of character. But if we are sensitive and we say something or we feel something or we are just overly blunt, that's a big deal.
Oh yeah.
It's really interesting. So,
So we are back to the what is socially acceptable. Like you can drink all you want, and oh yeah, their attitude yesterday when they were drunk. Oh, but it's just alcohol. But then oh, that lady, she cried. She was emotional. What's wrong with
right.
her? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like a lot more people are empathic than they want to admit, because
Mm.
why would my emotions bother you if you're not also getting some type of ripple effect from it,
Yeah.
and they're just able to hide it. I know with myself, when I'm around certain people that don't process their emotions, I end up processing their emotions.
Mm.
And
Harsh.
so they'll be telling me their story and they should be crying, but they just numb themselves off. And I'll be on the phone crying and it's not even anything related to me. And I'm just like, why am I crying? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so it's been quite a journey. I do identify as an empath though. All the trigger words, that's me. Like I've
Yay.
realized all of those things. Um Feeling deeply is a trait of gifted people, of people that are on the spectrum, and I feel like because that is such an obvious sign, people want to treat you differently because they think you're so different, when
Mm.
actually I'm just picking up more information out of the room than you are.
True.
That's really it.
Yeah.
So um so tell me about the work that you do with Solicitive.
Well, I've been a coach for a while, and I had an experience at work. You were talking, and I smiled when you were talking about in the workplace, being highly sensitive in the workplace. And I guess that my last experience, I was working with one of my coaches. I was his client, and then I got to be part of the team. And I looked up to him and the team, and I decided to join them. But they didn't know how to deal with me. They were very, very high performers, high achievers, and they didn't have that level of sensitivity that I do have. And for highly sensitive people, our level of pressure, of taking a pressure, is not the same. Our tolerance to pressure and deadlines and everything is very, very different than theirs. So my reactions, my responses to the pressure and the work and everything, like I was crying at every meeting. And in the end, it ended pretty badly. They didn't know how to handle the situation. So instead of trying to see what were my gifts and the value that I had and how we could work around that, they just decided to show me the door. But it was done in such a way that I was like, okay, I know how to handle this. I know how to process this because I am very familiar with my high sensitivity. I am friend with it. And but I know that out there are many people who may not be aware that they are highly sensitive, or they are aware, but they are doing their best to change, and they are living these kinds of situation over and over and feeling, living drained and with low self-esteem, low self-confidence, not knowing what to do. So I decided, and it was not that long ago, that I wanted my coaching to be geared towards those women who are highly sensitive, but they have created a whole identity that is so far from the essence of who they truly are. So I want to empower those women to go back home to their true self and create a life on their terms, align with their values, and really align with their deep dreams and desires. So that's pretty much what I do in my coaching, is coach these women to use their power, their innate power as highly sensitive people, being, having access to this whole spectrum of emotions, so they can really use them and tap into that to set in motion to work really with the universal laws and set in motion this whole manifestation process. Because I truly believe that as highly sensitive people, we do have a gift. We have access to so many things that we can tap into, so we can really thrive in this life. I'm a firm believer in that.
For sure. I feel like if we feel things so deeply, we'll feel the heartache deeply, but we'll feel the joy so much more magnified because we have this gift. And that is what manifesting is all about, is the feeling, connecting with that
Yes.
feeling. So when you can make this gift your servant in a way where you are able to, yes, you will be affected by people around you, and you have to self-care, you have to isolate, you have to recharge, you have to do the things that you need to do to regain your energy and balance your energy. But then also you have that deeper well. It's such a deep well of feeling that you have to pull from when you really need it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's been a clarity. I've had to learn what to think at the right time when I'm in situations to keep myself level. I actually have a funny, it's not a funny story, it's kind of a mystery story. I
Okay.
remember at my father's funeral, so feeling, being very sensitive to energy. Anywhere there's music, I'm going to dance. And so I found it to be very cathartic to dance and just stand there and just be in that moment at his funeral. And all the while I'm telling myself, like, okay, this is the last dance you're having with him. This is, and so I'm making myself be fully, fully present. And so we get up for the very last viewing. And I remember throwing my head back and saying, okay, this is it. And like the whole church saw me. And so the whole church just starts like, what? Like kind of like reacting, like, call and response. But I didn't call, I just
Mm.
responded. But they just kind of start clapping their hands and wooing, saying like they're supporting. And I get this rush of energy. And then all of a sudden, I get someone that puts their hands on my shoulders from behind. And it's a crowd of us because we have a big family. And I still don't know who that was. But when they put their
Oh.
hands on my back, they were squeezing my shoulders, but all of their energy shot through me. And I'm just standing there, like trying not to fall. Because if I fall, I'm going to make this casket fall. And it's going to be a big issue.
Oh my God.
So I'm doing everything just to stay on my feet because it's just so much energy. And a
Mm.
lot of it was good energy, but it was just so much of it. And I've just learned not to just talk about it. I just do my thing when I'm around people, and you can think whatever you want. It's okay. But I haven't had too many work scenarios where I cried, and I'm very thankful for that. But I
Mm.
did have a coaching experience. years ago before I knew I was HSP. And she supposedly was a soul coach. And there was no feeling in her coaching. And I
Okay.
cried every single session for 6 months.
Oh my God.
And I didn't know any better to just leave because I was just so used to being around people that made me cry. I thought it was me,
Mm.
not realizing that this is a person that you don't need to be working with because you don't need to feel this way. This is not helpful. I would dread the meetings, I wouldn't do the homework. And it was very authoritative coaching, which is what, we're moving away from these days. But she didn't know, she didn't understand me. She didn't. And what I remember most is her sitting on camera just looking at me with a dead face while I was crying.
Oh no. Oh
Zero,
no.
zero empathy, zero connection, zero anything. She just looked at me, and I'm
Mm.
just like, wow. Like, so I look back at that and I'm like, okay, I went through that to really magnify, but
Mm.
I'm never doing that to myself again.
Oh no, I can. Oh yes. Like just from you telling the story, ah, I just have an easy feeling of, oh my God, I would have hated that.
It was crazy.
Oh.
It was crazy. So the high performance stuff, I think in a way that's what she wanted, what she was trying to achieve. But high performance coaching and that whole idea of high performance is so masculine and aggressive and push, push, push,
Yeah.
that just no feelings matter, get it done. That just doesn't work for me. That
Oh
just
no,
doesn't, it just
for
doesn't
me
work.
neither. For me neither. And you know, one someone's definition of high performance can be very different to someone else.
Right.
But like, if you are stuck, if your own perspective of things, in your own expectations, and you don't take into consideration the person who is in front of you, then of course your expectations of that person may never be met, just because you are not like asking the questions, and you're not, you know, getting the feel, the vibe of the person in front of you, and saying, okay, how do you function, how does this work for you, so we can truly make, you know, whatever relationship it is, in coaching or in the corporate world. I think that's very important to, you know, ask yourself, like, how does this person function,
Right.
because you can't have everybody function the way you do. I mean, that's impossible.
Right. It's impossible. It's unrealistic.
It is.
I feel like high performance coaching, when you say those words, it's synonymous with fuck your feelings, get it done.
Hustle, hustle, hustle,
Right.
grind, grind,
Right.
never sleep, never rest.
Right. And it's crazy because in the right energy, I could run circles around everybody with my productivity, but it's got to
Mhm.
be in the right energy with the right work, let alone be high performance on a project that you're not passionate about. Oh my gosh. Like,
Yes.
that's crazy. So it's not to poo poo high performance.
No.
It's just to know, no, it's just to know that that methodology of coaching just may not be for you. Um,
And there are other ways.
yeah,
Um, I don't believe at all in cookie cutter ways, or like there is only one way to do things. Um, but you can like perform and achieve like things at a high level if you have the right mindset, if you have the right alignment, if you are in the right energy, like you can do wonders. I think in terms of alignment first. Like you can do all the hustle in the world. If you're not aligned with what you're doing, your results, they will suck anyway.
right. They will, because you'll do them with the wrong energy. And as we
That's
know,
it.
doing the right thing with the wrong energy is still not going to turn out right,
Yeah.
which I think is hard for some people to realize. Um, Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to not feel all of this and just be like a normal, because we know that normal is not normal, but
Mm-hmm.
to be a person that doesn't have this gift. I feel like the world would be like shades of gray for me, you know?
Yes, yes. I wonder about it sometimes. I will never know, but
Right.
I feel that I don't want to say this word. I'm not going to say it's going to be boring. I don't think it's going to be boring, but it's like, because sometimes when I'm in my head, like processing stuff and overthinking, because that's also what we do. You know, you have so many information, you have to process this, and you're doing your introspection and your own analysis and your own. So it's like 100% of the time there is something going on. But I'm wondering if, you know, I would be sometimes just not thinking about anything or just
Like, what
being,
would that be like?
yes, yes. I mean, it's unknown territory for me. Like
For sure.
it's another reality that
Yeah.
I don't have access to.
Yeah. It's been a journey though. It's definitely been a journey to accepting and truly understanding all the data that we receive on a daily basis. I mean, when I wake up, I've got immediate downloads. I've got vivid dreams. The temperature in the apartment's off. The neighbor's making noise. The
Oh,
cat's making noise. The carpet feels weird. You know, it's just so many textures in this world.
yeah, yeah, and that's funny because I've been with my boyfriend for a long time now, and he was always telling me that I'm the most annoying person in this world just because I'm always complaining about the noise or turn the volume down or all the neighbors or all this and that. And when I really got to understand the my high sensitivity and when I was able to convey and communicate that with him, then it was like, oh, okay, I see now. It's like I can't sleep in the room if it's not pitch black and if it's not silence, like, but true silence. But I live in Montreal, and in Montreal apartments, uh, well, you know you're gonna hear your neighbors, so I got to adjust to that. But I can wake up in the middle of the night just because, you know, a tiny noise happened somewhere, and sometimes I feel that my boyfriend is lucky, like to be able to sleep through the night, even if there are noises, lights, and oh,
Yeah, they get to choose their input. We
mhm.
just everything is input. Everything is data. Everything it matters. The temperature being off, a slight smell somewhere. It's just like, okay, where's the smell? You know?
Yeah. Where it's coming from? Where is it? Let's investigate that. And it's very interesting what you say about they can choose their input. We can't, but once we really make friends with who we are, then we have the choice to, okay, we recognize that there are like informations everywhere and we get all this input, but we can then choose what we focus on.
Right.
And I feel we don't really have this choice if we don't really accept 100% who we are and this trait.
Right. I think
That's my
also,
own.
yeah, for sure. I think I don't know about choosing the input because I still get waves when I don't want them.
No,
And
you get you don't choose the input, but you can choose
what to focus on.
what to focus
Right.
on.
Well, yeah, because then if you really, like you say, make friends with this and make friends with yourself, you realize how things need to be for you.
Yeah.
And so you can create that environment for yourself to have less to focus on. Like, for instance, Steve Jobs, when he wore the same clothes, he didn't wear the same clothes, but he wore the same t-shirt. He had multiple of the same t-shirt all the time. So he didn't have to worry about thinking about what he was going to wear. It's kind of like that, you know? If you create the environment, but everyone doesn't have that luxury because sometimes
No.
people live with other people. I don't live with anyone else. And now at this point, I don't know if I want to because sleeping in the same bed with someone, I wake up the next day and I still need 8 more hours.
Mm.
So it is, I don't choose that and I don't want to focus on that, but it still happens, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Like
so
I
maybe I should
agree.
probably share space with maybe different types of people, but I don't share space that often. But when I do, it's a lot of, it just throws my energy off.
Mm.
And there's only so much I can do about that. Now, could I ignore it and say, okay, I'm not going to focus on it? No, because it doesn't serve me. I have to understand what I'm picking up and how to handle it and how to
Yeah.
push it out. So I don't know. I feel like it's less of a choice, but more of management.
Mm. Management. Right. And it's funny the story of the bed when you talk about the bed. Um, because yeah, I'm very different than my partner, but we do have a king bed just because I need my space. Like, don't even touch me. Like, we manage this way. It's like, okay, there is only, so much that I can manage, but I'm going to do my best. So it's still, um, it's still enjoyable for me because I can definitely relate with the sleeping with someone.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, yeah, it's something to manage, but oh yeah, we are a couple, so I'm not gonna put him in the sofa every night, right? Uh,
Well, and that goes back to what is socially acceptable. We are
yes.
conditioned to think that we should sleep in the same bed. But who
Mhm.
says that? Like we can hang out, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean we have to actually sleep in the same bed to say that I love you or to say that we're a couple.
Oh no,
So I
don't even have to
challenge.
live together.
Exactly. And that's something I'm exploring as well. There's all types of Facebook groups on that type of stuff. It's funny.
Hmm.
But it's called a partnering, where you both have your own place and then you visit each other for the rest of your life. You don't ever have to share living quarters. And that's, I think, sometimes for other reasons because people are more independent or whatnot. But as far as sensitivity, people take it personal when you say that you want to sleep in separate beds. But
Mm.
it's just like, okay, we still get to be together. You can come to my bed, I can go to yours, but as the act of sleeping, like respect the fact that I need sleep a certain way. Because if we're sleeping, we're sleeping. We're not smashing. Like we already handled
Yeah.
that part, you know? And we can do the cuddles and all that stuff afterward, but the actual act of sleeping, I think it's sacred. And we need to challenge the whole idea of why do we have to sleep in the same bed all the time? Maybe a few nights a week I just get to recharge and sleep alone. But you don't take it personal. So this meshing of energy on a constant basis, I don't think it's healthy for anyone. I just think that we feel it more
Yes,
than the
we
other
do.
person because I still think it affects the other person as well, even though they may not notice, you know?
Hmm.
But
Yeah, and energy is everything.
yeah.
Even for non ID sensitive people, they are not aware of it, but sometimes they can sense when they get in a crowded room, they can feel the energy. Is it positive? Is it negative? They will get that. And I think at some level, we all pick up energies. We are all subject to those energies. But yes, that's the news. Highly sensitive people, they do feel the energy a lot more,
Yeah.
a lot more.
Yeah, and I just think it's our opportunity to really make choices to care for ourselves on a deeper level and really be mindful of where we go, who we share our time with, who we share our energy and space with. I think we just have to be more diligent. It doesn't make us weaker. It makes us stronger because we can tell when anything's off. Um, I remember being with a partner and we were cuddling and I felt this jolt in my body. And then, literally, like 3 or 4 seconds later, he jumped. And I was like,
Hmm.
I think I felt that before it happened to you. And it doesn't happen like that when we're apart, I guess. I don't know if he's jumping or not. But it was just one of those little jolts that you get while you're sleeping. I don't get them, but I got it because he was getting it. It was so weird. It wasn't
Mm.
weird to me because I understood what was happening, but I think he was a little like, how did you know that? But I didn't know it was about to happen. But when it happened, it was like, okay, I wish I would have said something.
Yes.
Like you're about to jump in 3, 2, 1. But
I
yeah,
love that.
it's so interesting. So in what ways have you maybe had an episode or a situation where it has saved you from something or really deeply like helped you in a way that you didn't understand but you just followed your body and the feelings that came?
Hmm. Trying to think of something because sometimes it's so subtle and it's only, afterwards you're just like, ah. But I think it has to do with, you know, following my intuition.
Hmm.
I call it intuition, but sometimes you just don't know if it's the energy speaking or if it's really like your higher self or a download you get from somewhere. But it's just the, I'm not going there. I'm not talking to that person. I'm not doing that because in many instances, just because you want to do like everybody else and your gut is telling you don't do that, you don't want to go there, but you go there, and then it's a mess, and then it's terrible, and you go back home and you're just like, oh my god, I should have listened. I should have
Yeah.
listened. But I think it's more, I can't really think like my life was saved in one instance, but it's more on a day-to-day basis, following this gut instinct, like this time I want to say no, like I don't feel this, or I don't feel that person. I'm going to stay open, but I'm going to say no this time. It's just the fact of saying no more and more to things that I don't feel a vibrational match with, more to say yes to myself. This is huge because in the past, I was saying yes to everything and everyone but me.
Right.
And I there are too many times where I was just drained or heartbroken or feeling like my life was over just because I was saying yes to the things and not saying yes to myself.
For sure. I think we can feel our feelings. We have our little intuition hit, right? And then if we have to tell that person no or we have to decline an invite, we can feel how they feel
Mm.
once we decline it as well. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, block that part out. Don't focus on that. Focus on what you need. And
Yes.
sometimes it's the hardest thing because learning how to say no is an experience and a lesson in itself. And then add that on top of being HSP,
Yes.
it's a lot. It's a muscle that you really have to work on growing and knowing yourself enough to say no, this is enough. I can't go. I don't want to go. I don't feel good around these people, so why do I make myself keep going, you know?
Hmm. And it is definitely a muscle, but the more you do it, the more it becomes natural. And when you think about it, just because we are highly sensitive and we kind of we expect the other people to react one way or another, we can anticipate how things will go with that person. But when we think about that, those people, when they say no to something, they just don't care and they move on with their life. They don't spend like hours like, oh my god, I shouldn't have said this, or they're gonna react this way. No, they just say no. You know what, I don't feel like going there, I'm not going, I'm staying right where I am, and then they're all good. But we we don't do that.
We
But
don't.
the more you practice, the more you are okay with knowing that, yeah, okay, I'm gonna feel like, I'm gonna feel like crap for a moment, but it's gonna be okay because
Right.
I am taking care of myself.
Yeah, and I think most times we think that they care more than they actually really care about us saying no.
Yes. Oh my god, yes. And you make up those stories in your mind, and oh my god, they're not going to speak to me anymore, and this and that. But Like, yeah, I love
Yeah,
what
and
you're
then
saying.
yeah, and then next week they come around like nothing happened. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "You don't hate me?"
You sure? I said
Right.
no, remember?
I know. Yeah, so I think that is definitely one of those things. There was something else I wanted to share. Um, oh, oddly enough, when I get ready to go on dates, I feel the person's energy before I meet them.
Mm.
And so there are times when I'm getting dressed, and I've grown to be a very confident. I've always been confident, but I've been kind of like made to feel smaller. And I've really worked hard to get through that and really regain that confidence. And so I have. So going on a date or going out with someone new is not a big deal, but there are some times where I'm getting dressed and I feel so nervous.
Mm.
And it's not my nervousness. And then, like you said, you'll get there and it'll be a shit show. Or you'll get there and you'll be like, oh, they're nervous. That's why. It took me a few times to really realize what was happening. And then there was this one time that I was really, really late because I was really just something in me kind of didn't want to go. So I, you know how you get ready, you start to get ready on time, but some type of way you're still late.
Oh yeah.
I got there and this guy was so mean. He was so mean to me. And it's like he was mean because I made him wait. But I made him wait because I really kind of didn't want to go because I could feel his vibe.
Yeah, and
And then when I,
you saw his true colors then because you were
right.
late.
But then I was late, but it was like, well, you could have left. You could have just taken your sovereignty and left and not had to feel like you needed to punish me. But he wanted to wait there and punish me so he could walk out on me. It was so crazy. And I was like, okay, this is why I didn't want to come.
Mm.
This is why everything in me was, I was behind, I was unfocused when I was getting ready. It was really crazy. Really crazy.
And the thing is, if you arrived on time, he wouldn't have shown that
Exactly.
side of him. And maybe you would have gotten on the second date, a third date, until you saw that part of him that you didn't want to see, but you were too involved in the dating and the relationship. So yeah,
Right.
being late saved you from
Yeah,
that man.
but even that, I pick up on those things from people, and people end up proving it to me that I'm right. I
Yes.
got so many stories about that.
Yeah.
I don't want to monopolize the session with that.
No, no,
But
but I love this because I don't have this ability like to sense from the distance. I need to be like to
oh, okay.
be in the environment of the person to get their vibe. And I know we are also different at many levels in our sensitivity to some people like you more in the empath side of the
Maybe so.
spectrum,
Yeah.
and some others they may not even feel the vibe. Maybe some people who are just like listening, they may say, oh, you know what, like I don't sense the vibe, but that doesn't make you someone who is not highly sensitive, because
Right.
it's very unique to everybody. But we do, knowingly or unknowingly, we do pick up things and the input, the information. But sometimes, and it's like you want to say something but you can't confront the person. That's the thing. And as you said, you go on a date and you're just like, like, I know this vibe, I know this person, I know who they are, like they haven't even spoken yet, but you can't say, you can't say anything
Right.
just because you don't want to be seen as the who's that weird girl, and you don't want to also um you don't want to confront them with who they really are. People are not ready for that.
People are not ready, and I get such clear messages that I can be very blunt. And I can't be mean though. Like me being honest is not me being mean. Me
Mm,
choosing to be mean is me being mean, and I don't ever choose to be
yes.
mean. But if I see something or you've hurt me, I will call you out on it, and I will call it out in very clear language, because that's the relationship I have with myself. I've done inner child healing back in like 2012, and from that point I became fiercely protective of myself, because that little girl was never protected. So now if you wrong me and you outright wrong me in my face, like I already know a lot of people wrong me behind my back because they can't handle doing it in my face because I will get with them.
Mm,
But if you outright wrong me in my face, I will very calmly tell you what's going on. Or if I really don't care about you, I'll just ignore you. But
yeah.
there have been people that I've met, I it's just the data. It's just I get all the data. I get that little smirk you made with your face when you said that.
Mm,
I get that thing that you're trying to say but you're not saying.
yeah.
I get what you're trying to do when you're trying to be overly honest, but you're being very dishonest about something else. I pick up on all of that stuff. All I need is one date with somebody to know if they're a piece of shit or not.
Mm.
And most likely there are a lot, like in the dating game, it's a lot going on out here. There are so many people that try to wear a mask
Oh,
that it just becomes so exhausting.
yeah. It's like when you send when you send your resume for a job, like, hey, I'm just gonna put all the things that are amazing about me. It's the same with dating.
They try, but I can see through it. And it's the hardest thing because you realize how much of a waste of time. So I've just stopped dating. Like I'm celibate. I'm just hanging out with my cat, working on my passions, and
Yeah.
because it takes so much of your energy to do some things that you know are not serving you. For me, it's like no new friends. Like
Mm.
it's very obsolete, but you have to take these measures and create these boundaries where it's like, okay, if I do want to date, I've got the energy maybe 3 times this month. I'm willing to sacrifice my energy for that. But I'm not willing to sacrifice it 3 or 4 times a week and, do the rotation dating. And that just takes
Oh my
way too
God.
much
Yeah.
energy
Mm.
because I don't connect with someone unless I connect deeply, you
Yes.
know? So I know that you said
Yes.
you've been with your boyfriend, but how is dating? How has the HSP affected you with dating? And what drew you maybe to your boyfriend?
I hate dating. I hated dating. Well, we used to be co-workers when I was working in the corporate world. So I got to meet him through work, and I got to know him through work because we were on the same team. He was like um he was like there was a team leader, the mentor, and the rest of the team. He was the mentor. So he got to coach me in the, I was doing like this period of my life. This work was a traumatic experience for my whole being. It was going against everything that I am. So it's in the past now, but I got to meet my boyfriend there. And if I didn't meet him, I don't know where would I be now, because I hate dating. And you have to know the person. Like when I first saw him, I didn't even look at him. I wasn't interested.
Mhm.
That's because we were in the same environment that I got to know him. And that's where, I got the interest. But dating, like, yes, it takes a lot of energy, because if you want to get to know the person, and you have to spend some time with them, and you have to make the time for that. So it is draining. So I consider myself lucky for being able to meet him in an environment that was set for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, being able to observe someone when they're not expecting to be watched
Mm,
is a great ability, to just be able to get to know someone's energy in a very neutral environment. That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Um, so your work as a coach, you work with highly sensitive women, and tell me about that and like maybe what your containers are, your offerings.
So I have created, so originally, because as I told you, I wasn't originally coaching those specific people until I embraced it myself. But at first, I was trained as a law of attraction coach. So everything manifestation, and manifest the life that you want for your dreams and desires. But then I moved towards highly sensitive women because I feel there is such a lack of education around that. And a lot of people are hiding, staying in the shadows because they want to be accepted and they want to fit in and they want to be in the mold. And I don't want that anymore. Not for myself and not for the other women. Sorry for the men, but for now I'm focusing on women. But I know there are a lot of highly sensitive men out there too, and it may be even harder for them. But yeah, and so I wanted to really focus on like who I was not that long ago. Trying to fit in this world. And so that's why I created an app that is called Cecile. So I'm the face behind the Solstice app. So right now in the app you have a free 5-day challenge. It's called Sensitive Manifestation. It's basically in 5 days making friends with your authentic self, your traits, and then going through the process of managing your emotions and using them to your advantage for your manifestation. But also things like setting boundaries, because we didn't say the word at all in our conversation, but we did talk a lot about boundaries here,
Hmm.
saying no and stuff. And I know it's hard for some people. So I do have a 5-day challenge like this, and I have it's kind of an introduction to a 6-week program that I'm doing also in the app that is called Uncage Yourself.
Hmm.
And it's diving deeper into everything, falling in love with your identity, kind of going back home to yourself, to your essence, and then from there create the life that you want for yourself with your own rules. Also because we talked a lot about what is socially acceptable or not. Get rid of the socially acceptable. It's now time to just shine your light as you are.
Yeah.
um yeah, I feel we need more people who just are themselves and are being unapologetic about that. Just like, hey, you know what? I'm who I am. Like it or not, I'm going for my dreams. That's what I want for myself, and that's what I want for the people I coach.
For sure. That sounds awesome. I think that we do need to get away from trying to be someone that fits in to
It's
being more
exhausting.
confident in the person that does stick out.
Yeah.
Because we're put here to stick out. We're put here to be different and authentic to ourselves.
Yeah.
And um, I think people like us have had to learn. If we were lucky, we took the time to learn. But other people that are maybe more enmeshed in their environments, or they're just uneducated on why they feel the things that they feel at the depth
Mhm.
of which they feel them, need support because they've got a unique thing that they bring to the earth just like everybody else. And just because you're more sensitive, just because maybe you cry a little bit more, you feel deeply, you're empathic, you're not empathic, whatever, you're still here for a purpose. You're still here to do something, and you should not feel like you need to be locked away somewhere and
Oh
hidden
my God.
because
Yeah.
of because of these feelings that you have or these sensations that you get. Learn to work with someone that understands you, that can help you manage that stuff, because it's not going away. If anything, as you get older, it may get more intense.
Definitely. Definitely. And I did a research not that long ago, because when you think about it, even the term, the label, um, highly sensitive, it's a baby term. I mean, it's like 20 years old, 25 years old. There is a whole lot to discover about that. But I did a research. There is a website where you can see what people type when they do a research on a specific keyword. You'd be heartbroken when you see the results when people type highly sensitive. The questions that people ask are: can you cure a highly sensitive person? Is it an illness? How can I change? Only this kind of research. And it deeply, deeply hurts me that people feel they have a problem. and that they need to change, and they are sick because it is a trait. It is your identity. It's who you are. And and by thinking that you are sick just by being who you are, that's
Yeah,
that deeply breaks my heart, that a lot of people out there just don't know how to navigate this world just because they are highly sensitive. And if you and me, we can make a tiny difference at our level just to raise the awareness about that, then we win.
for sure. Yeah, I did not I don't think I've done the keyword research on that and saw that, but I identify with all of those feelings.
Mm.
I remember having family members tell me like something's wrong with you. Like you got to figure out what's wrong with you. And you really do feel like something's wrong with you.
Yes.
But we have a crisis of empathy is really what it is. And we need more empathy on this planet, obviously, with everything that we have going on. And I feel like in a way the pandemic was created. I mean, conspiracy theory unite, right? But the pandemic happened. Let's just put it that way. The pandemic happened, and it really separated the empathic from the unempathic for
Mm.
me. The people that refuse to wear a mask simply because they don't want to be controlled, but you don't realize that there are people around you that you don't know their story. You don't know who they're taking care of. You don't know, but you lack empathy. You lack empathy until it happens to your mother, and then you want to stop the world, you know, but you completely lack empathy from other people to just say, okay, I might wear this just to make them feel safe when I'm in a crowd, you know? Because
Hmm.
there were people that could not wear them. Okay, if that was a thing, I don't know. It wasn't me. It was just a mask. It was just a covering over my face. The only people that I feel like couldn't wear them were babies because their ability to breathe is not strong enough.
Yes.
They could easily get smothered. But there are so many different types of masks and face coverings for adults, and I'm not trying to sound unempathic or empathetic in
Mm.
explaining why we need more empathy, but it was just really eye opening for me to see how people behaved and the lack of empathy that's there. But when the people have too much empathy, something's wrong with us, you
Yes.
know? When
Yes.
you can just tell us a story and we can feel what you're feeling, something's wrong with that. But you not feeling anything, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's hard to be sensitive in an, insensitive world.
Right.
Um, but when you are willing to question the rules, and like, who decided that it wasn't okay to be sensitive and be empathetic? Who decided that? Like, no one. I mean, it's just
Baby
some.
boomers.
Well, but who were they anyway? The world changes, and you can create your own rules, but for that, it's you have to take a step back from the crowd, and realize that it's okay for you to be sensitive, to cry, to be empathetic. um but yeah, I feel that it's a personal decision. It begins with a personal decision to
For
say,
sure.
you know what, you say there is something wrong with me, you say this or that, like, screw you. From now on, I take the decision what's acceptable or not.
Yeah.
But when you don't make the decision, nothing happens really.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's hard to make that decision. I get it.
it can be for sure. Environments can be very, very overwhelming and overbearing.
Yeah.
As I think about it, when you said who made that okay, I think about the generations that came before us, right? And how they didn't have as much connection as we have, right?
Mm.
For you and I to meet each other and be able to have a podcast together.
Oh yeah.
So they were all in their own little worlds, going through the Great Depression, going through growing up wherever they grew up, and communication and feelings, I think, impeded what they thought was their ability to survive.
Mm.
So then as generations go on, we pick up what our parents did, right? If
They
we
meant well,
They
but
meant well, right? They meant protection. I think it's a level of protection, especially in the Black community. For me, I think it's a guttural reaction to, like, don't act out, because then you'll be um identified separately than us,
yeah.
and then something can happen to you. You know what I'm saying? Because of our
Hmm.
history.
Yeah.
And but we've got to be the change, because the Indigo children were born in the 80s, which I identify as. So we were born into this world to create this ripple of change. It's not so and then, then we've got the diamond babies, we've got the pandemic babies that came out with so much more strength. It seemed their eyes were open immediately. When you look at babies being born 10 years prior, it took them a while for them to open their eyes. But babies
Hmm.
now are coming out with their eyes open. So we're being born with different gifts for a reason, not to
Yes.
hide them. And I think that's important to keep in mind. Yes, we were born into an insensitive world, but we are here to create that ripple of change. But that first starts with fully accepting and loving ourselves and all of the gifts, or whatever we think may be curses that we have, because we were not put here on accident.
Oh no, no. What are the chances of one individual being born? I don't know if you heard that. I think it was the the TEDx talk from Mel Robbins.
Yeah, the ratio. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like 1 out of 400 trillion, something like this. But I mean, you have more, whatever the figure is, you have more chances to win the big jackpot at the lottery than to being born. Like, even your parents didn't meet, not born. Your grandparents didn't meet, not born. And I mean, you can go back in time, and like a tiny butterfly effect would mean that you were not being born. Like, or
Mm,
maybe your parents had a fight the night you were supposed to be conceived, and then you were not conceived. It's just a detail, and you weren't born.
yeah.
Meaning that when you beat all the odds to be on this planet, it's time to shine.
Mm, I've got chills.
I mean,
Full body chills. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. And I've heard that talk. Yeah, for sure. It is. It's just we lose sight of that, because
yes.
I think there is a mission, right? There's a mission where fear conquers, because when people are in fear, they make decisions a certain way. They
Mhm.
prioritize certain things. And when we choose to not be in fear on any level, that is when we can make that impact.
Yeah. And I don't remember who said that, but the only the only thing to fear is fear itself. So,
Right. Yeah. And when it shows up, you know that you're on to something good.
mhm.
Because when you're not afraid, you make really stupid decisions. But yeah, I've loved this talk. I really enjoyed it. It's so great to talk to a fellow highly sensitive person and just share the different ways that we receive the world, and then working through putting our own mark on the world as well. So
Yeah.
it's been awesome.
And I feel we could go on for hours here.
Yeah.
Um, but and when I hear you talking, I'm just like, oh my god, me too, me too. And it's really, we don't have to stay in our corner, and like for anybody who can relate, it's like, okay, I'm gonna hide, I'm gonna stay in my corner. It's like, it's when you share with people who are like you that you discover more about yourself, and that you can embrace that part of who you are. So I feel it's very important to um, look for other people,
Hmm.
and look for other highly sensitive people who can share their stories and their experience, and that's how we learn about ourselves.
Yeah, and create community and just support systems however we can in all of our different ways of being coaches and leaders and
Yeah.
helping other sensitive people become leaders because that's what we need. We need leadership that has empathy, that has understanding, that wants that connection because that's where the magic happens because we can't keep going into this new world. Like we're in the Aquarian age, you know, we've already been
Mm.
making that transition, but we realized the type of leaders that we had before didn't really work, you
Oh
know?
no.
So it's imperative that we shake things up in the way that we can with our deep understanding of ourselves first and then helping others
Yeah.
understand themselves because that's where it starts is true understanding and
And highly
acceptance.
sensitive people make great leaders.
Yes,
So
we pick
we
up on
have the
so
soft
many.
skills,
Yep.
they're natural. So yeah,
Yep.
we are leaders. Like, hey, it is a freaking movement, the highly sensitive movement,
It
right?
is. It really
Let's
is.
do this. Let's conquer the world, and the world needs us, and just like the world needs every single individual there. So,
Yeah. They don't need highly sensitive people any less,
mm-hmm,
despite what
mm-hmm.
they'll make you believe or want you to believe.
No,
Nothing's wrong with us. Nothing's broken. It's
no,
just we're set up different, and that's okay.
mm-hmm.
Every car on the road is built different for a reason. So why not humans?
Yeah,
Why do we all have to be the same? It's not
yeah.
true.
It's like the Apple Android battle. It's like, yeah, you can be like nobody, not everybody has to be the iOS system. You can be the Android system, and that's okay. You're cool
Right.
too.
Right. Yeah, and you get your work done just the same. It's just
Yeah.
a different modality, a different way of receiving information. That's it.
Mm,
So, well, this has
I
been
love that.
awesome. Thank you so much, Cecile, for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Love that conversation.
So welcome. So welcome. But yeah, so we got to go forward and do our work because it's like I said, we can keep going on forever, but it's
Yeah.
hard to um after you've been told to shrink or be quiet or stop crying or stop feeling or you're too this, you're too that. It's hard to think of yourself as a leader,
Yes.
but you're more of a leader, like you said, because you have these gifts. So that's just some of the things that, like you said, I needed to hear that I never heard. I have to tell myself. So I want
Mm.
other people to hear those things.
Yeah, because we just become what is repeated to us. And like, of course, you're gonna shrink if people tell you, like, yeah, you're too sensitive. Yeah, you don't matter. You're not valid. You're too this or too that. And I wish I had someone at the time when I was struggling to really, you know, discover who I was. Because when you are living an identity that you're you are not at your core, there is a moment when you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't know who that reflection is. Like, you don't recognize yourself. I wish I had someone at the time that would repeat to my ear, like, you matter, you're unique, you got this, you're powerful, you're this, you're that. But I had to do it myself. It works, but it's even better when you have the community, the people, the coaches that can help you with that. I mean, it's, yeah,
The
because
right
not
coach.
everybody's strong enough or has the, enough discipline to, go through this process themselves. So,
For sure, because we've got all the other trauma that we have to deal with too,
hmm,
that we may feel even more deeply because of being HSP. So
it's a
it's
circle, right?
yeah, it's a big circle. It's a big hole to dig to feel like we're digging ourselves out of. So
Yeah.
before I start another story, let's go ahead and go.
Okay.
Because I've got
Let,
some more popping up.
yeah, let's get out of here.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much, Cecile. I appreciate your time
No,
and
thank you.
sharing with me. And we'll talk soon.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Love, love, love that conversation.